Well, the idea behind the casebook really stemmed from Roger Henderson, Queen's Counsel, who I learnt so much from, and he, in these chambers, they are called Henderson Chambers after him. And Roger did many years of work for the General Medical Council. By background, he came from a medical family. His mother and his father were both doctors, and he used to do the big cases for the GMC, and he would have 4 lever arch files full of cases, reported decisions, unreported decisions of the Court of Appeal or the Privy Council and other bodies. And he'd carry them around with him to all the hearings. And when I became a legal assessor at the General Medical Council, which was in 2001, I think now, I did the same. And I was carrying around these lever arch files, and they were exhausting. And I thought there must be a better way. So I very fortunately, I spoke to OUP about Oxford University Press, who were incredibly helpful. And I think they were thinking along the same lines at the same time. And we came up with this idea of a casebook, which would be a single portable volume. And it doesn't contain the full details of the cases. I must make that clear. But hopefully it contains a summary of them. It's divided into chapters. There are 71 chapters. It's in alphabetical order, beginning with absence of the practitioner and going through to adjournments, abuse of process, ending with, I think the last chapter is witnesses. And then at the end of that, after that chapter, there's a chapter called words and phrases, because sometimes in a case, the judge has interpreted an expression, and that's in a separate chapter at the end, words and phrases. Well, one of the advantages is that you may be at a hearing, and say there's an issue arises as to evidence, whether certain evidence is to be admitted or not admitted, whether the evidence would be hearsay evidence, and if it's divided up into each of the professions, you'd have to go through the book many times, and very often, particularly on appeals to the High Court will say, yes, we understand what the rules of this particular professional body are and the question of evidence, but we'd like to just sort of see how that fits in with other professional bodies, perhaps of the same discipline, say the Nursing and Midwifery Council. There may be an appeal of theirs, and the judge in the High Court will say, well, what are the comparable rules at the General Medical Council or the General Pharmaceutical Council or the General Optical Council? So that's really why I've divided it up in the way I have. Well, there have been a lot of cases. I mean, I don't have the exact number, but from what I can gauge, there's about 150 cases each year passing through the courts, that is, through the administrative court, a lot of them now being heard in Manchester and in London and the Court of Appeal, and in addition there are cases heard in the Court of Session in Scotland and the High Court in Northern Ireland. So there are a lot of cases, and one has to keep up with them. And I think practitioners also, all lawyers will say, well, what's the latest case on this issue? And I therefore have to provide the latest case. I love it. It's my Saturday job. What happens, not every Saturday, but I frequently come into chambers on a Saturday and I work through what cases have been in the courts the last week or two. And I try to keep up to date. And also, some of my colleagues are incredibly helpful. They send me cases. Somebody will say, well, I was in this case. They want me to put it in the book, you see.